Good morning, everyone, or potentially afternoon for some. In fact, for Brian, it's afternoon. My name is Nathan Klug. I am the managing partner of Praxis Agency Consulting Group, and this is our bi-weekly agent-facing webinar series. And we have, if you couldn't already guess it from the slide in front of you, we have Symetra here today. And the title of our webinar is It's nothing fancy. I wish it was fancier, but quick and easy term insurance with a credit card. So it's pretty descriptive about what we should be going over today and what we're going to go through. But I, for one, am excited to have this information shared with all of you. We'll talk about application and why this is important for everyone to understand in a little while. But before I do that, I want to talk about some housekeeping things. So for everyone that's on the webinar, really quick, if you can raise your hand really quick, I would like to see everyone raise their hand because I would like to have audience participation. Great, we have a few people doing it. Awesome. Of course, there's going to be a few stragglers, but we have the majority of people raising their hands. Great, you can lower them or I'll lower them for you, but wanted to make sure that works for everyone and where they can find it. If not, it should be at the bottom of your screen, or maybe the top possibly, depending on where the bar is, the Zoom bar. And then the next thing, I won't have you do this, but there is a Q&A session, or not the chat, but the Q&A portion. That's going to be a great place that as Brian and Sarah go through this information, if you have any questions, that is going to be the best place to be able to put your questions. We'll make sure that they get addressed throughout the presentation. And we'll also have some time afterwards to ask some one-on-one questions. And depending on how everything goes, we might open it up for you guys to be able to talk and ask questions directly. But for now, put them in the Q&A session, and then we'll have time to address that afterwards. With that said, though, again, I'm excited to this information to be shared. This has a direct application to a lot of people in the business. And Brian, before I hand it off to you completely, just as a question, how many other carriers do you know of? I'm putting you on the spot right away, that have that you can use a credit card indefinitely to pay for the premium of an insurance policy?
So we've heard of a couple that allow it for that initial payment, but in terms of ongoing premiums and the ease of use, I believe it would only be Symetra at this point in terms of the space that we're working in.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, there might be some, because I know we have some P&C people on here. Sometimes there's carriers within the P&C property and casualty world that allow that. But in essence of true life insurance companies that have phenomenal products, that is, Symetra is the only one that I've seen that on. So I wanted to make that a point at the beginning. I'm probably stealing some of Brian and Sarah's thunder. But I am glad to be sharing this information because this is going to help you guys close more business and help some of the clients that you're already working with. But without any further ado, let me introduce you to Brian Keefe and Sarah. They are our team over at Symetra. They're our direct contacts. They do a phenomenal job in this area. I haven't met Sarah in person, but Brian, we were at the conference a couple months ago, and that was a fantastic time. You shared some amazing information, which is why I'm excited to have you on here today. But without any further ado, you can take the floor, and then we'll go from there. So Brian, it is all yours.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. And thanks everybody for giving us some time this afternoon, hopping on this webinar. I think Nathan hit the nail on the head earlier when he said, it's nothing crazy. It's not going to blow your socks off, but it's a simple headline. Instant issue term that we can pay for with a credit card. It's all we're about right now, especially in the fourth quarter. I think this story is really strong, trying to make business easier for you to conduct, trying to make things easier to get paid. One of the things we like to say in my side of the business is time kills deals. What we're trying to do is eliminate that time from the initial application to a process going in force. And what we've come up with on the term side here is our Swift Term platform, which is really getting from that initial application stage to policies being placed in force. As we'll talk about it further on in this presentation, sometimes as quick as 15 to 20 minutes, your client can have a policy in their hand and being paid for with that credit card, as we talk about. Just to get on here, a little tech issues right off the bat. All right, we got the PowerPoint working. But one thing that we saw with the recent environment in this life insurance space is that there's certainly a need and a want for this term coverage. It's not something that Symetra had typically played in before. If you've ever written any Symetra business, or if you're familiar with us, we were typically playing in the higher net worth IUL space or the GUL space. So we had fully underwritten products. We were very competitive in those higher death benefit sales. But the pandemic changed this. Life insurance has become top of mind for many, and there's a huge untapped market of people who really want this coverage, but dread the process. Nobody wants to go and sit down and take labs. They don't want to meet with an examiner. They don't want kind of that full look into their financial picture, their health history, all of that good stuff. So we've tried to combine the best of both worlds here by giving people the coverage that they want, but using a digital platform to make that ease of use much better for the consumer. So instead of having somebody go sit down with a paramedical examiner, we're able to do almost all of this online. So we're going to have 3 different ways that coverage can be placed here. And only if we have something big that flags in the medical history after we kind of pull this digital platform is where we would need a medical examiner to come in. But we're just trying to issue this as quick as possible, instant, 15 to 20 minutes, and get the coverage for the clients that they so badly desire. So this is where SwiftTerm comes in. We're going to be with you every step of the way throughout this platform. It is completely automated. It's easy for you to use as an agent, and it's very easy for your clients to use. So in this market, this is kind of where we were talking about in the pandemic. One thing that a lot of agents say, or millennials in general will say, I don't need this coverage. I don't want this coverage. There's no appetite for it. We found that to be untrue. So 67% of millennials surveyed said that they would be much more likely to buy life insurance if the process was faster or easier. That's an objection that we can now overcome with the SwiftTerm platform. Another market that we saw that was untapped was kind of that single parent market, the not single income earners in the house, certainly a desire and a need to protect that income to keep the household safe. But a lot of these households did not have life insurance protection. That's a huge gap. As a life insurance carrier, that's something we're very passionate about, is giving these people accessibility. SwiftTerm does this. It gives them accessibility to a product that they may not have had access to earlier. These are people that can't necessarily take a full day off of work to sit down with a paramedical examiner, or even you as an agent. Maybe they can't go through that full application process, take a couple days out to do the full plan. But now that we have this online drop ticket tool where they just have to fill in a quick application of 15 to 20 minutes, it makes their life easier. And at the end of the day, it's still term coverage. So it is very good on the pockets. It's not going to break the bank, and it offers them a low-cost solution to get them that death benefit that they so badly need. So what is the SwiftTerm, and where does this platform kind of differentiate the Symetra product from some of the other products in the space? Because obviously there are other online term platforms. So why Symetra and why SwiftTerm? Automation is obviously the big thing here. It's going to ensure that convenience. We, as I said, we're playing in that IUL and GUL space beforehand. So what we've been able to do is put our term product out there, but give it convertibility. So you still do have convertibility within this product. That is very unique. And then our underwriting. So we've kept kind of the basic underwriting guidelines that we had, our build charts, our kind of leniency on certain medications and certain conditions that a client might have. Some of these carriers that are coming into the online space just have a cut and dry either decline or approval process. You're typically getting a standard rate, sometimes even a standard smoker rate for some of these instant issue platforms. Since we were already in this life insurance space and we've been a carrier for quite some time now, we can actually offer up to best class. So we offer all of our traditional risk classes, super preferred, standard, even smoker rates. So we offer all of those within that platform. So this isn't something where your client's going to get knocked down, or they're going to be kind of put into something like a GI pool where they're paying rates that they might not necessarily they could have qualified for something better, but because it's an online platform, it's quick, they're being charged more. We don't have that. Our automation and our underwriting kind of work hand in hand to be able to give that client the price that they deserve after going through the automated process, which is something that's really, really awesome. And then our lower face amounts. So this product does vary from our traditional products. On our permanent side, we do have a minimum face amount of $250,000. So we did want to attack that middle market and give people the coverage that they need at low cost. We did lower our face amounts to $100,000. So we are $100,000 to $2 million on the higher side for the Swift Term platform. And that higher side is something that I also want to make note of. The fact that you can get no physical underwriting, you can just go through this online automated platform for up to $2 million of coverage, is something that's really strong. And that's also where our underwriting has been great in this process. The instant approval for qualified clients. So this is what we're talking about when the client goes in, puts the drop ticket in, puts their height, puts their weight. No, I don't smoke. No, I don't drink. These are the medications. I have a clean driving record. If all of that is good, we would consider them a qualified client, and they could potentially get through that instant approval platform and have coverage in their hands in 15 to 20 minutes after hitting submit on the application that they complete.
Hey, Brian, since you're on that note of just the approval process, somebody asked about credit score. Is that also part of the process that you're looking at?
So there is a background check. It's not a hard check or anything like that, and it's not a complete credit score. So what we use in the background is LexisNexis. So LexisNexis puts together a complete profile score. They're running a script check, a DMV check, and a financial check. It's not purely credit. It's just kind of an overarching, I think they scour some like debt databases, make sure there's nothing crazy going on there. But we, as I talked about, we have that kind of proprietary underwriting. We have some leniency. So as long as the score falls within a certain range, that's when we can offer the coverage. But it's not a hard credit check or anything like that.
Sounds good.
Does that answer the question, Nathan?
Yes, it does.
All right, great. So from a process standpoint, and I think this is where we kind of differentiate ourselves again from a lot of the other players in this online term space. So the big thing here, since this is instant issued, and this is, I just want to get this out of the way, we do require pre-appointment. So for all of our permanent products, we are a just-in-time company. So if you submitted an application, you could go through the just-in-time contracting process. Since this is truly instant issue and your client is kind of controlling how quickly they get the policy delivered to them, we would need you pre-appointed with Symetra to have that selling agreement in order to submit that first Swift Term case. So once you are pre-appointed, you'll get the Symetra agent ID number, and you'll be able to go into iPipeline and create that digital drop ticket. So that's going to ask you for only a few pieces of information. First, your Symetra agent ID number, the client's date of birth, the client's social, and the client's email. So as soon as we have all of that information, we can get a package ready. You click submit on that drop ticket, and an email is automatically going to be generated to the client with that application. So it is truly instant. Once you hit submit on that drop ticket, the client's going to get it. There's a couple of reasons that we think this is great. So there's multiple ways you could be on the phone with the client and you say, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, I just put in your information. We had talked about this term coverage. If you check your email, you will have that term application. Go ahead and fill it out. Or if they're in the office, so say you have kind of an older or less tech savvy client, you can actually go through that application process with them. So you still do have a handle on the sale. It's not just taking this and sending it off into the cyberwebs. We also will keep you updated throughout the duration of the process. So as soon as we email that application to the client, we're going to notify you. As soon as the client starts the application, we're going to notify you. As soon as an underwriting decision is given, we're going to notify you. And then once the client accepts and completes the application, we're also going to notify you there. From a client standpoint, once they receive that email, they go through about a 15-20-minute process where they fill out the application. Fairly standard part one of a life insurance application questions that they're going to be answering, medications that they may take, health history, family history, things of that nature. Once they have that done, they also will be able to e-sign. So instead of having to go back and forth with the client, even with a DocuSign where it has made it easier, this is a truly electronic instant process where they're going to be able to e-sign themselves without you having to generate any Adobe or DocuSign documents for them. So it's going to make your life easier. If you have a staff, it's going to make their life easier. And it's all controlled by the client at that point. Once they fill out the application, they say submit. If they have been approved by that LexisNexis and our underwriting score, we're going to send them an email immediately, and it's actually going to pop up on the screen a decision. So it will say, congratulations, you're approved. This is your coverage. You have been approved for $2 million of coverage, and you owe us $120 a month. Would you like to pay for that now? And this is where the credit card comes in. So it's very, very simple. You now have that decision that's been made. The other kind of ways that we can approve, we'll get into that in one slide, but I do want to stop here for a second. Once the client has that decision and they have the policy ready to go in their hands, if the policy is $500,000 of death benefit or below, we're going to give them the option to pay that with the credit card. This is huge. So you pay with that initial payment with the credit card, you set up an online profile, you keep that credit card on there, and the recurring premiums are paid on that credit card. 500,000 is the amount because that's kind of what we could get the maximum of without going into anti-money laundering and getting lawyers and everybody involved with that. But $500,000 of death benefit and below, any amount below that, you can have your client pay immediately on the credit card. 500,000 to 2 million, we're still just going to do a standard bank draft. So a couple more inputs that the client has to do, a bank routing information, but it's a very simple process. And once they put that information in, the coverage is bound. They're actually going to get the email sent to them that says, congratulations, this is your policy. So no policy delivery required on your end. You will also receive a copy of the policy just so you can see and for your records what your client has. But it's a great, great and simple process. So Nathan, any questions coming in on that? Because I think that is really the thing that sets Symetra apart, that ease of use and the ease of issue for everybody there.
I've got two questions. One going in, just you mentioned the no, I don't drink. Is drinking socially a disqualifier?
No, it's not a disqualifier at all. So we still keep that kind of Symetra feel on it. So social drinking is completely fine. If we did find something doing one of the script checks where maybe they had some alcohol issues in the past and were prescribed something, that may be a knockout. Or if they input a number that is above a certain threshold, that could get them away from maybe that instant approval down into a second touch or a light touch underwriting that we may talk about in a little bit, where an underwriter comes in and actually looks at the case. So we've talked about the instant platform. This is actually a pretty good segue. We do also have light touch underwriting. So if something looks a little bit out of the norm, so say everything was fine, but this person did say they drank a little bit more than we were comfortable with for an instant approval, what we would do is that would drop to the light touch category. So it's assigned to a specific underwriting team for Swift Term. Within 24 to 72 hours, somebody will go in, manually look at that case, say, oh yeah, we're fine with that number. Everything else looks good. We don't have a problem with this. And then the approval would then be sent to the client. So that would be the next step outside of instant, but it's still within a 3-day time period that we're turning around and getting the client the policy.
That makes
sense.
sense.
I believe we had one more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then one more is, does it have to be a credit card? Can it be a debit or PayPal? And then I know initial premium from bank draft, of course you can do that, but.
Yeah, so I'm not sure on PayPal. I don't believe so. Debit cards, absolutely. Our vendor right now is Plaid. So they work with every major bank, most local credit unions. We actually just had a new grouping of smaller credit unions and financial institutions approved by Plaid. So the debit card is absolutely fine. In terms of PayPal, I'm not sure on that. Sarah, do you know? But I haven't run into anybody using the PayPal or anything like that yet.
It sounds good.
I have not heard about PayPal. Let me find out for you.
Sure. So we'll get back to you on that one, but any major debit or credit card at this point should be accepted.
I mean, that's as a plug for one comment that you said really quick. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself at the end because we usually deal with this at the end, but if Symetra is not a carrier that's within your product portfolio right now, this is one of the reasons why everyone should be contracted with Symetra, because the Swift term deal is a pretty big aspect of a business that you can make it super easy on yourself to write those term policies with that convertibility. So that's one piece that I'm excited about on that end. And then one of the questions that's on here is just on the whole life or IUL, UL product line. Is this process something that you guys plan to do? Is there, or will there be a simplified IUL, UL product?
Yeah, so right now, one of the things we're working on actually is I can say this. So we're right. We're letting you guys in behind the scenes here. We might need to pause the recording for a minute now, but this is something that we're in the process of approving. It's kind of gone through all the channels. It's just kind of paperwork at this point. But if a client is approved through that Swift term channel, we're going to be able to allow them to match whatever. So say they had $500,000 of Swift term. We're going to give them the option to tack on an additional 500,000 of our protection IUL product, which is kind of getting our feet wet in that space. But in terms of your question, absolutely, we do plan on implementing this into that permanent product portfolio, and that will be the first kind of step in that direction. And that should be coming out formally very, very soon here, where you would have access to get IUL along with that term.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Now this looks like a couple more questions are popping in from that. So, is mode other than annual available with credit card? Can it be done monthly? Perfect.
Yes. Yep.
And then I know you went over the statistics. I don't remember them, so you have to say them again. But what percentage of cases right now are immediately approved for Swift term?
Sure. So right now, it is 30% going instant and 40% going through the light touch. So that's in that 72-hour. We're actually expecting that to go up. So one of the things at the beginning was a lot of cases, if there was any manual input, there's a couple drop downs. So one of the big things that we were seeing was occupation. So there's a list of like 200 occupations or something. If somebody wrote in that they were a civil engineer, instead of just clicking the engineer button, it was messing with the system where LexisNexis didn't record it. And it said somebody needs to look at this for approval. So with that, we've updated the occupation thing, or in the process of, but once we have that squared away, that should shift it. We're hoping to see more 40% instant, 30% on the light touch. But right now it's 30% light or 30% instant, 40% light touch. So still 70% of the cases that we're seeing are being underwritten and having offers going out within 2 to 3 business days.
That's great. Well, I think that answered all the questions. Excuse me, right now. So I know you've got a few more things to go over, so you can continue now.
All right, great. So from a client standpoint, we just went through kind of how the process works, but the ease of use, just want to hit that again. It's all answers that are from the client. So this is really taking a lot of this transactional business off of your plate. Some of these cases, we have seen certain producers that get behind this Swift term platform are giving us tons of business because they're just creating these drop tickets. You might not have 8-9 client meetings in a day, but if you have 8-9 phone calls where someone expresses interest, you can create 8-9 drop tickets. So we're seeing a ton of volume from producers that have really caught on and gotten comfortable with the Swift term process. The client's answering all their own questions. It's not putting you in that awkward position of answering some of their private medical history that they may not want to divulge. It's doing the e-signatures for you. You don't have to work with Nathan and his team or your own back office to do any of the DocuSign or any kind of herding cat. You're trying to get client signatures after a case is already approved. It's one of the things that is unbelievably frustrating, where you have a client, they've paid, they're ready to go, but you need a delivery requirement. This takes that out of the equation. And then again, the e-payment, so they can just pay immediately once the offer is given to them, and the e-delivery. So once they have that policy in their inbox, they will actually get, this is one thing that we haven't touched on yet, it is an e-service account. So once they have the coverage and the policies mailed to them, it says, congratulations, here's your policy. click here to set up your Symetra account. So on a go forward basis, they can actually go in, check what their death benefit is, check their beneficiaries, change all their beneficiaries, change kind of anything policy related. So it's giving them direct access to that service account, which a lot of people, if you're doing a paper application, just we give you the option, but most people aren't doing that. We're seeing a lot more people creating those online accounts with the SwiftTerm platform. So the three ways that we succeed, we talked about this, the instant approval, the accelerated underwriting. So what that accelerated underwriting, that's that light touch. We do have a specific team for SwiftTerm. So when we made a commitment to get into this space, we took a large amount of underwriters and put them dedicated to SwiftTerm. So this is why we're turning these offers out in 24 to 72 hours. The underwriter is going to look at it within the first 24 to 48 hours. So within 2 days, if something dropped out of that instant approval platform or that chassis, an underwriter is looking at it. Sometimes they have to dig a little bit into it, but most of the time it's just reviewing the case, reviewing everything that the client put in, and we're able to get that offer out within that 72-hour window. If there is something that's a little bit tougher from an underwriting standpoint, so one of the things that we've seen is people with diabetes, we can get certain, if it's like type 2 well controlled, you can still get through that accelerated platform. But if you are taking a medication, I know for a fact metformin is one of those that's automatically going to knock you into that accelerated category. If we want a bigger history, or if there's something out there, that would be one of those that drops you into that full underwriting category. It's still a really good process. It's going to be a 30-day turnaround. Typically, underwriting can last anywhere from 60 to 90 days. So we are still expediting this. We can go ahead and order the paramed exam for the client if they are dropped into that full underwriting bucket. But this is one of the things that actually differentiates us in this term instant approval space. A lot of carriers, if they have a term platform or a term product where it's completely instant approval, you either get the coverage or you don't. One of the things that we didn't think was transparent or fair to the clients, if you don't get that coverage, what is it doing? First of all, it's creating an MIB hit. So this client could potentially, at a different carrier, if they weren't to get that instant approval, they might be declined. An MIB hit would be generated. Next time they go to apply for coverage, or even if they go out immediately for fully underwritten coverage, the carriers and every carrier that looks at MIB is going to say, hey, there's a red dash on this. They had a life insurance policy declined. What's going on here? That's not something that we want to do. By dropping the client into that fully underwritten bucket, even if they don't want to pursue coverage on a fully underwritten chassis, if they don't want to go through and sit down with a paramed, they don't want to give us some more medical answers, you still have the ability to withdraw it without a straight decline being hit. So it is something that we think is just more transparent, better for the client, better for you as the agent. You don't have to deal with a client saying, hey, why am I a decline? We can say, oh, sorry, it didn't work out from the instant, but you still kind of control the sale. You can bring it to a different carrier. If you think you're instant there, you can withdraw it, or you can go that fully underwritten route, and hopefully we'll have you some coverage in 30 days. So just a bunch of different paths here. And I think the way that we're doing the pathways is really strong, especially for the client. So any questions on that? I think I thought I saw a couple coming.
So one, if the application is a replacement for a current policy in force, does that bog down the SwiftTerm insurance process?
I don't believe so. Sarah, did we had something a few weeks back, right, where did they implement like a checkbox for replacements, but there's not a specific replacement form? Is that right? But I think like Texas, you need a special form, which we can send out. But for most states, I believe it's not a problem. Is that right?
I believe that's correct, Brian. I can take a peek here as well too and get back to you on that one. For PayPal is currently not an option.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And then I'm going to save the last question till the end because it's kind of the marketing question. So we'll get to that in a little bit.
All right, great. So for demographics, where we're really strong is the 25 to 50-year-old age. We do offer coverage all the way up to age 60. The pricing does go up a little bit on those older clients since it is an instant issue and it does have that kind of instant pricing built into it. But we're really strong on face amounts from 1 to 2 million. So any coverage 1.5 to 2 million is actually going to be cheaper to go through the Swift Term platform than it would be on our core term. So we have really low pricing. If you spreadsheet us, if you're kind of doing a term pricing, you're going to see that we look really strong in that space. Nathan, can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, can
you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. All right. One of those tech issues. Had a thing yelling at me for a second. But the risk classes that we had talked about, super preferred all the way down to standard nicotine. So 25 to 50, all the way up to 2 million, all the way up to super preferred rates. Our term durations, it's just like our core term product, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And we do have built-in riders. So a lot of these instant approval or instant issue term products will strip everything out of them. We're keeping our living benefits in there. So we have that accelerated death benefit for terminal illness. We keep the accidental death benefit rider. We keep a waiver of premium on there. So it's not completely stripped down. And then one of the biggest things here, you can still convert your coverage to permanent life insurance. So this is the benefit that we have as Symetra. We have that grouping of, we have that background in permanent life. We do offer convertibility to permanent life products. Again, it's not super stripped out, so we're leaving you that conversion privilege, and we're just as cheap, if not cheaper, than a lot of these other carriers that just work in the term space that don't have convertibility, that are not instant. So it's a great triple play there. If you're looking for a client that may convert down the road, that's looking for low cost coverage and just wants that instant platform, it's a slam dunk. And this is where the Symetra product looks really, really strong in that space.
Not that this matters too much, but is there any conversion credits?
No, there's not a conversion credit at this point.
Good.
So let's go for, you said you had a marketing question. I'm wondering if this could fit into it. So go ahead.
So here's the question, but the question is, do you have some unique and creative ways that agents have leveraged this great product and generated a lot of business that can be repeated by others like me? And I will say the last part, my best marketing ideas are borrowed or stolen. I love that you've revealed that in your question. I've always heard it's okay to be a copycat. Just make sure you copy the right cat.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that we saw coming into this space. Obviously, we weren't the first in here, but we got to look at the market, see how it was evolving, kind of pick and choose what we liked, what we didn't like, what other carriers were doing. But I think we copied some good folks and came out with a really great product. In terms of marketing ideas, we're personally in my territory, I've seen a ton of success in kind of that. So accounting practices, I work with a couple of large CPA firms, especially with tax time coming up. Everybody's going to be getting their W-2s at the end of the year. This is a great kind of conversation starter. If you're working with any CPA offices, this gives them an option where they don't have that background in life insurance, but they can identify when there is a life insurance need. This is a quick, easy process for either you or them. Create the drop ticket, have the clients go in and control the sale. All you know is their financials. They might have you on that kind of financial trust where they're comfortable giving you the tax returns, or somebody that you work with, they're comfortable with the tax returns, but not necessarily on a personal level where they want to open up and give you their medical information. This is a great option for somebody in that space. You send them the link, they kind of control the sale from there. They put in their own information. You don't necessarily have to have that huge background that you've built up over years with them. And it is a more transactional sale. We've also seen this a lot within the real estate market. So somebody gets a mortgage, they want coverage on that mortgage. The Swift Term product is great there, as well as small business loans. So right now we only allow personal ownership. So client goes in, gets enough to cover the small business loan that they've been taking out. Immediately, they can go in and on that service platform that we had talked about, collaterally assign that death benefit over to the company or the bank that had given them that small business loan. So those are a few of the big places that we've seen it. It's really strong in a lot of these transactional type sales. Local groups, we've seen a couple local groups, especially around this holiday season with some charities where they're just putting some life insurance on larger donors just to kind of cover that need. If a donor did have something happen to them in the future, we can have the beneficiary be charities. So there's just a ton of different ways that this can be marketed. And we are working, since it is a digital platform, on getting some more tools that you can put on your website. So different ways to market the Swift term where you can kind of brand it as yourself. Again, a lot of these are still kind of in production, but we do have some great marketing resources available as well, which we can send out after the call.
That would be really good. I love getting free resources into agents' hands.
All right, great.
And then a question that came up from that side, just on my side, is this something that you've seen? You said it was you have to have it set up as a personal policy. So is this something it's not used in the business space for like key man policies and buy-sell agreements and things like that, correct? Oh, it looks like I have Brian frozen. Let's see. Are you still there, Sarah?
All right. Can you guys hear me?
I can. Yeah, Brian is frozen.
Oh no, we've lost Brian. So this is going to be for as long as we have that it's individual policy. It cannot be trust or business owned. However, we have seen it where people have used this for different business type loans, as long as it is individually owned.
Gotcha. So individually owned is the main point of it.
Yes, that is correct. And I did have the information regarding the question on how this affects replacement. So there are a couple of items, as long as it's written on the drop ticket, that this is a replacement. And it's critical that the producer, along with the insured, have that same matching information. So if the agent marks yes on it, that they're replacing, it's automatically going to create a replacement form for the insured to sign. And as long as that insured information does in fact match along with the agents, this will not affect auto approval. They can still go auto approval.
That's good to know. Well, welcome back, Brian.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry about that. The first time I had to tell you no that we can't do business, I just got scared and had to drop the call, it seems like, but I was not running away from that question.
Yeah, I just shared with them.
I'll let Sarah bear the
Brian.
bad news
Yes.
on that one. Okay.
That as long as it's
Sarah's
individually owned, they can have some of those business type loans, but it has to be individually owned. It can't be business or trust owned.
Great.
That's good to know. And then another question that came through is on the permanent side. Living benefits, because I know you guys have living benefits on the permanent policies.
Yes.
So when the conversion happens, that's still you're still getting the living benefits, correct?
Yep. So once you do that conversion, you would still, as long as you're standard or better risk class, which you will be if you're in that Swift term product, you would have the built-in chronic illness rider as well as the terminal illness rider.
Perfect. So yes, that would be eligible. Let's see. Can premiums be paid through a small business HR?
I don't believe so. I think at this point it has to be personally paid. I don't think we would allow. Yeah, we would. I don't believe we would allow. I can double check on that, but I'm pretty positive we wouldn't.
I would
allow that.
imagine not on this product. I mean, like I said, your other one, your other term, absolutely.
Yes.
Because of how you can set up the policy, but since this has to be personally owned, having a business pay the premium is probably going to be out on this. But to answer your question, Joe, Symetra still has products that can fit that, just not this specific product.
Absolutely. Yep. Our permanent as well as the fully underwritten term would all have that.
Perfect. All right. Let's see. I know. Did you have any other slides that were on there, or was that?
No, so that was pretty much the last one. We just did a quick comparison of the Swift term versus the core term. The big things about the core term, we do offer coverage up to clients 80 years old, up to 10-year duration on that. We do offer that is full underwriting, but coverage can go all the way up to 20 million. So one thing to note here, there's 2 states for Swift term that we don't allow sales. It is New York and South Carolina. New York is kind of one of those ones that's always a little bit tricky. South Carolina, for whatever reason, actually dictates that you need a paper application if you're offering something online. We never have the intention of having this be a paper application, so it doesn't seem as though we'll be in South Carolina. If you do have a client in South Carolina or New York, we do offer that fully underwritten term product, but within both of those states. So we still do offer coverage there.
And then some yes to this, but permanent plans, all your permanent plans are available through the entire conversion.
So for right now, it would just be our current assumption product. We are working, obviously, with the PIUL getting integrated. We're working on getting more the full product suite, but for right now, it would be a specified conversion to the current assumption product.
Gotcha. So it's just the UL.
Yep.
That's good to know. All right, that was anticlimactic to your last slide. But now is a good time to, if we have any questions, like I said, I'll give the plug one more time. So for everyone that is on the webinar, this is a perfect time to get contracted with Symetra. If you aren't running business with Symetra, this is a good reason to start again. If you already are contracted, but definitely get back with the business development advisor or agency or affiliate marketing office that invited you to the webinar to have that conversation. But we still have a little bit of time, so I want to make sure this is a great time for you guys to be able to ask questions and what that looks like. And on that note, there's another question that came in about street comp. So I will, there's something that will be sent out to everyone of what street comp is for the product. So you'll see a grid of what that looks like, so that you have all that information. But outside of that, any other major questions about marketing or how to use this? I know you didn't talk about it too much, but it was on the slide. But you talked about PNC agencies.
Yes. So we've had a huge amount of PNC agents. Some of the major carriers, I'm not going to use their names, but we have agents that have affiliations with some of the larger insurers in the country that have actually switched over to predominantly using Symetra and that Swift term platform for their life cases, just because the ease of use is there. So a lot of PNC agents, when they have those life cases, this has just been a super easy solution for them. Again, there's not a huge background necessary. You don't have to have that wealth of life insurance knowledge. This isn't a complex IUL sale. This is a transactional term sale that you can get done within a day or two and be commissioned and paid for it. And it's still great coverage for your client with a company like Symetra that has kind of that historic backing and competitive pricing. So
yeah, and I will say, because we work a lot with PNC agencies, that this is especially with Symetra and their life insurance portfolio, they're extremely competitive in that space. They will blow away most everyone that is a property and casualty carrier that has term products and things like that, because property and casualty carriers they're property and casualty carrier. They do auto and home insurance. They added life insurance as a measure to be able to get some of that business, but in the world of competitively priced products, they are not as competitively priced as a company like Symetra that is focused in the life insurance arena. So this is something that's going to be better for their clients. It's going to be super easy. It is also typically going to pay them more comp than what they're getting paid at the PNC carrier. Not that Not always, but typically they usually need to run some business through the auto and home insurance carrier to get their bonuses and things like that. But it's usually honestly like a few cases for the whole year. So
Right.
this is a very easy way to be able to talk to P&C agent. It's something they're already familiar with. You're not asking to sell an IUL and maximally fund it and develop cash value. It's super simple term insurance. So I talk about P&C a lot because that's a huge opportunity with the Swift term that you can all be talking about. And they traditionally don't really do the other side of the business. They're not doing a lot of that. So definitely something for you be able to talk to and about that in that affinity marketing space.
Absolutely.
Let's see, any other questions though, or comments, concerns, conundrums, enigmas, mysteries? Anything else while you have Brian and Sarah both here? Sarah is, and she is the answer person at this point.
She is.
I did not expect to get those answers in the same time of the webinar.
Well, thank you. Yeah, any other questions?
Let's see. Another one, are we allowed to dual contract with Symetra? It's a question when it comes to P&C that have other insurance companies. Is Symetra a dual contracting company?
Yes, we allow to do contracting. Yep.
Well, there you go. So for those that don't know that, if they're working with another IMO, how dare they? And they already have a Symetra contract, then we can get them, instead of doing a transfer, we can get them another contract number, a dual contract through us as well at the same time.
Correct. Yep.
I was gonna say, if I was wrong on that, you can.
Yeah, you got the definition of a dual contract down. So I didn't know if I needed to respond to that, but just wanted to give you the positive information. So
Thanks,
yes,
I appreciate that, Brian.
we're all good there.
Any, let's see, we got another question come in. Specifically, so I'm going to, Jeff, real quick, just to make sure that your question gets answered. I'm actually going to unmute you. So hold on 1 second. All right, Jeff, you are unmuted. Go ahead and ask the question so that I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, hi, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jeff.
Okay, you have made arrangements with insurance companies directly for those agents to be able to write the Symetra plan. If I go into an agency and they have that arrangement, can they contract with us?
So on the higher level, the way that we don't offer the direct contracts to the agents. I'm working with somebody like Nathan. So where that kind of breakdown, if you do have agents under you that are looking to get contracted, everything should kind of flow through Nathan for that IMO relationship. And that's where the contracting would be done. It wouldn't be done at that individual agent level. It would be done kind of higher up.
Okay.
Is that what we're going for?
I don't know if I made myself clear. I'm an agent, I'm a P&C agent, and ABC Insurance Company has made an arrangement with Symetra. And I've already enrolled. I'm an agent through that company. Now I come in with our offer. Am I able to appoint that agent through us?
Okay, now I think I understand what we're talking about. I believe so. That would be something I would have to just run by our national account team, since I know there is one specific selling agreement in place where yes, let me run that by our national account guys, and then I'll get back with you and Nathan. If we could just get Jeff, if I could just get your contact info afterwards, I can directly
To make it simple,
comment on
Brian,
that and get you the answer.
Yeah, I'll email you with it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
and I was
Thank
gonna say
you.
to make it simple too, Jeff will be on tomorrow as well. So
Okay, great.
great. Any other questions anybody has? I mean, this is, again, to reiterate on my point, to kind of, as we're ending off, like I said, we'll always hang around to make sure questions are answered. This is a time for you to get ideas about how to implement carriers and products and services, so that you can help your clients better, make more money, achieve the goals that you want to achieve. But this is all valuable information. This is recorded. So what will happen is everyone will get an email with the recording after it is done. So usually probably early or later afternoon, you'll get the recording along with any other materials. Thinking of materials, I know you mentioned you have some. Is there I know your website, Symetra, has a great website for some digital marketing. Do you want to go there really quick just to show that?
Yeah, and we actually have a microsite for the Swift term.
Yeah, I was
Let
going
me-
to say that's so just as a plug-in again, I love carriers that have microsites. There's not tons of them that you don't have to log into or have a contract, a writing number to get access to. And Symetra has one of those. So this allows you to get the information, get marketing materials, understand how to utilize the product and service without having to log into the back office and the portal to be able to get access to this information. So that's what Brian's showing right now.
Yeah, so we have all the marketing materials down here. If you're looking to see some heat charts for a bunch of different companies, if you wanted to see how we spreadsheet, we have direct contact information for our Swift Term direct team. As we said earlier, along with the underwriting team where it's dedicated to Swift Term, we have a full customer service team that's dedicated to Swift Term. We can get you started with the appointment paperwork, the underwriting guidelines. If you have any questions on specific medications or a pre-underwriting question like a build chart, we have that all there. And then once you have cases submitted, you'll be able to check your pending business, your in-force business, and then just the process of it all. So the Symetra Swift Term microsite is really strong here.
Gotcha. How did it is that what it is? Financialprofessionals.symetra.com.
Yeah, so if you just Google searched Symetra Swift Term or Symetra Swift Term, Symetra.com/Swift Term, you don't need the financial professionals. It'll just direct you to this site. So you'll be fine to go through here. You don't need a Symetra login or anything to access this.
I was going to say, and you can access it from your main website too when you go to the financial professionals part. So
Yeah, yes, you can. Yep.
perfect. Yeah, this guys, I've used this a lot. It's a great resource. So definitely leverage that as well. Let's see, any other questions that anybody has? Well, I'll do a wrap up very slowly to see if anybody has anybody else. We had some thank you everyone for asking all the questions. They were great questions to ask. There's a lot of ways to implement this. Like I said, we have access to Brian, we have Sarah, you have the whole Praxis team as well, and the agency that you're working with is an independent agent or the business development advisor that you're working with. So please ask questions. We are here to support you, to help you in the direction that you want to go in helping more clients, basically. So Cynthia, thank you for jumping on. Good to hear your voice again. I know I owe you a call actually. But with that said, we are going to end this session. As the last thing, in 2 weeks, we will have, I won't reveal the carrier, Brian. I won't dare talk about somebody else while we're
That's
on
fine.
the phone with you. But in 2 weeks, we will have another webinar. It's going to be a really great one. The title is a little bit more exciting than this one, but the application of this one is much more easier. But the next one that we have is in 2 weeks, December 15th. It is the easiest way to get paid on a 6-figure case in 2022. So join us for that webinar. Registration will go out. You all have a great rest of your day. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving as well. And if you have any questions, let us know. You will all get an email with the recording and that website as well for the materials later this afternoon. Brian, thank you so much for your time. Sarah, thank you so much as well. You saved Brian multiple times.
She did. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for the
everyone.
time, taking the time out, and great turnout and great questions. I love when we have that engagement. So thank you for making that easy for us.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to having you on again, probably early next year, first quarter for something else.
All right, great. Looking forward to it.
All right, sounds good. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.